Good evening, everyone. My name is Jess Scully, and I'm the Deputy Lord Mayor of the City of Sydney. I'm very, very pleased to be able to introduce you to Band Together, a celebration of Refugee Week. We're coming to you tonight from Sydney Town Hall on Gadigal land, and I'd like to extend respect to elders past and present of the Eora Nation, and to acknowledge the next generation of elders who are emerging here. Thank you for being a part of this very special evening. I have the immense privilege of being your MC for the event tonight. Now, it's not quite what we had in mind, but I'm so pleased that you're here tuning in from wherever you're tuning in around the country. But first things first, we'd like to acknowledge the land that we're on, and I'd like to invite Yvonne Weldon from the Metropolitan Aboriginal Land Council to welcome us to country.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers. As was said, my name is Yvonne Weldon. I am a Wiradjuri woman from Cowra, here in New South Wales. I'm from the waters of the Clare, which is also known as the Lachlan, and of the Murrumbidgee Rivers. I am the elected chairperson of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, who are the culture authority under the Aboriginal Land Rights Act for the land that we are on. I would like to pay my respects to all elders past and present, to all First Nations, and to you and the many nations of lands that are represented virtually here tonight. We're meeting here on the Eora Nation's country. The boundaries of the traditional owners are embedded into the Earth's natural landscapes. The Eora Nation's boundaries are the Hawkes River in the north, the Nepean in the west, and the Georges River in the south. My people, the Aboriginal people, have been a part of this land for more than 60,000 years. We are the oldest living culture of the world. And wherever you travel across this beautiful continent of ours, understand you're entering the lands of nations, tribes, and clans existing here before all written words and all history, and it continues here today. On behalf of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, the elders, and the members, I welcome everyone to the land of the Gadigal. I acknowledge the Gadigal people whose spirits and ancestors will always remain with this land, our Mother Earth. Aboriginal people are inclusive from all from across these lands, as we have hundreds of nations from this continent and across the globe. So whether you come here by foot, air or water, our people include everyone. We don't turn away. We honour all. And this is who we are and will continue to be. We all are the fabric of this land, woven together with our rich cultural differences. All of us must work together to building and continuing a cohesive and harmonious multicultural society that enriches the lives of all of us. We all play an important role in part of accepting and celebrating our diversity, and we need to do this every single day, bringing my people, your people, and all our people together. All of us can make positive changes for this country now and into the future. And we need to reflect upon the footsteps we're leaving to know where we're heading, shaping a society, a country we can be proud of. And in these times of this pandemic, don't let the social distance make us socially absent. We must maintain physical distancing, but not creating barriers to our social connections. So whether it's for your work, your family, or your networks, creating an inclusion, an acceptance, and a resilience. All of us together can bring about positive changes to multiple generations, starting a healing to the past generations by declaring what should not have taken place. To the present day generations, giving them hope and creating a future for the next generations, for everyone in this country. We are in this together, and we can achieve positive change each and every day. No matter what walks of life we all come from, we all need to support each other, bringing out hidden heartaches to share and bringing us all a strength together. The road travelled alone is the longest, hardest road there is. Don't do it on your own. I will join you and you can join me. Think about the difference we can make today that will become the milestones of the future, all our futures. So let us all draw upon my people's spirits, as we continue on our journey. May my people's spirits walk with you and guide you as we strive forward for us all. Again, on behalf of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, welcome to Gadigal land. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you all for tuning in, wherever you're tuning in from, whether you're at home, whether you're at a community centre tuning in. Thank you for being a part of Banded Together. This very special event is the Asylum Seekers annual celebration and commemoration of Refugee Week. And it's an event that's presented in partnership between the Asylum Seekers Centre, Amnesty International and the City of Sydney. I am wearing two hats here tonight. I'm here as your MC for the evening and very, very pleased to be here in that capacity. But I'm also here this evening representing the City of Sydney. And the Lord Mayor Clover Moore has asked me to come and to say a few words on behalf of the City to show our support for this event and to express our solidarity with you. Now, this event is one that we have supported at the City of Sydney over many years. But this is not the complete extent of our support for the Asylum Seekers Centre or for our solidarity with people who are seeking protection in Australia. Tonight, we're going to have a really special night. You'll be enjoying a night that's conversation, storytelling, music, and you'll hear directly from incredible people who have navigated very, very challenging journeys and who'll be opening up and sharing their stories with us, which is never easy to do. Of course, for the City of Sydney, this is something that's important to us on a matter of principle. It connects with our values. But for me personally, this is also a topic that's very close to my heart. My own family story is a story of seeking protection, of fleeing persecution, and coming to Australia looking for a better way out of a really difficult situation. My mum was just a teenager when the military coup happened in Chile in the 1970s. She, overnight, found her life turned upside down and found herself being pursued and persecuted by the military. She was one of tens of thousands of Chileans who experienced that through no fault of their own. Suddenly, their lives were very different and their choices were really limited. She was in hiding for 2 years with family before she was smuggled out of Chile, and she found her way to Australia, where she was seeking help, protection, support, just a way to lead a life that was safe. I'm telling you this story because I've seen firsthand the resilience, the optimism, the humour, and the hard work that people who are fleeing persecution, who are seeking support and asylum, that they bring to Australia. They've shown enormous courage, they've made huge sacrifices, and they take a great leap of faith by coming to this country. But not everyone has been as lucky as my family have been in finding that asylum, in finding that safety in Australia. Today, in 2021, unfortunately we see that people seeking asylum continue to face hostile policies, and many of them are repeatedly told by government that they will not settle here. And we've seen, even in the most recent budget, the way there's a punitive approach to people who are seeking support, seeking asylum, keeping them off any form of support for even an even longer period. What do we lose as a country when we close our borders and we close our hearts to people who have every right to safety, who have every right to expect to receive a welcome in this country? They're people like my family who have made a difference here, who have made an effort to be a part of the community here. At the City of Sydney, we have a real commitment to building a diverse and inclusive community that includes marginalised people who deserve a life of freedom, justice and peace. As a councillor, I understand the power of change at a local level. The City of Sydney has proudly been a refugee welcome zone since 2005, and we are one of 171 local councils around Australia that have made a public commitment to welcome refugees in our city. In 2019, the Refugee Council of Australia joined us as an official charity partner for our City of Sydney New Year's Eve celebration. That's one of our most important positions every year. We partner with a charity partner to help them raise funds and to highlight important causes. And I'm so glad that we could partner with the Refugee Council in that year. Through that partnership, we were able to provide a visible platform and a wide audience for the important work that the Refugee Council do in supporting, celebrating and advocating for the rights of refugees and people seeking safety in Australia and around the world. Together, we launched the 2020 Year of Welcome campaign, through which Rokaa asked thousands of people around Australia to make a commitment to making one of 12 inspiring actions over 12 months to make Australia a more welcoming and inclusive place. Because here's the thing, while many of our government policies are unnecessarily, almost deliberately cruel and punitive, we know that the Australian community have warm and open hearts, and we do not want our governments to misrepresent our community in this way. We know that there can be a better Australia, an Australia that reconciles itself with the great transgressions of its past, but one that also opens up and builds an inclusive and creative and supportive future for all the people who could be here and contribute here. In 2020, we supported the Nobody Left Behind campaign, which called on the federal government to give refugees and asylum seekers access to Medicare, JobKeeper and JobSeeker, and to give temporary visa holders peace of mind by speeding up and simplifying the visa process. It is absolutely unforgivable that refugees and people seeking asylum were not included in any of the support packages created to address the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown. Since the outset of COVID-19, the City of Sydney has provided $250,000 in grants to organisations supporting refugees and people seeking asylum. But we need support from all levels of government, and we need to see a fundamental shift in policy at the highest level. Until that happens, we're going to see more families needlessly suffer. We're going to see more of Australia at its worst, pushing people away who need our support and who deserve our care. I'm very thankful to the Asylum Seekers Centre and to Amnesty International for the work that they do, raising awareness in the community, advocating to government and directly supporting thousands of people each year with practical support and services. We're going to hear from some of those people tonight, and their stories are extraordinary, especially over the last 18 months when COVID-19 just tore away so many people's means of supporting themselves, and as I said, people didn't receive support from government. I'm very thankful to have this opportunity to thank them and to honour them for all the work that they do, particularly Francis Rush, the CEO of the Asylum Seekers Centre, and Dr. Graham Thom, Refugee Coordinator for Amnesty International Australia. Thank you for your work, and thank you for your leadership and courage, and thank you for joining us this evening. The City of Sydney is very proud to continue to partner with you and support your organisations. Thank you all for tuning in as well. We are going to have an extraordinary night, a night of connection and storytelling, creativity and conversation. And I think you're going to enjoy it. And I know you're going to learn something because I've already learned so much in my conversations with the participants here tonight. Thank you everyone who is part of the great big network of support, the loving arms that support people in our community who have come here seeking protection. Thank you for being the spirit of Australia as we really are, as we really should see and be, as a place that welcomes and includes and supports everyone who needs our protection. Now, I'd like to introduce a message from the Asylum Seekers Centre's newest patron and the Australian Local Hero of the Year, Rosemary Kariuki.
Wow, you mean you are here already? Wow, you beat it to me. Okay, welcome. This one, somebody asked me whether she can try with me. And then this one, this is when I did the Vocam Hills African Ladies Troupe. This one here. It's a Masai, I'm a Kikuyu. Wear like this. I've just been running. Welcome to the celebration of the Refugee Week 2021. My name is Rosemary Kariuki. I am very sorry that I will not be able to be with you. I became a member of Asylum Seekers community 21 years ago. Every day I could go there, that was my home. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. You have no idea when you come here, you leave your big family, and here you come here alone. And then you meet these wonderful people. They were all volunteers, and they became like our parents there. So every time you need something, they'll come and listen. They become the family, and they open their doors every day to people who don't know what to do the next day. What I'd like the mainstream Australian to know about the refugees and the asylum seekers. Refugees didn't choose to come to Australia. They just found themselves in Australia because they are running away from what is happening in their countries, and most of them it's war. A migrant chose the country they want to go. The refugees, they didn't choose. Even the asylum seekers, they're just running. And wherever a chance came in, they followed that. I'm very worried with what is happening with the refugees and asylum seekers because of the COVID. It is very hard time, and especially with their mental health. Australia is a kind country, is a country which have thinks about their own communities. Let us just extend that hand to the refugees and asylum seekers. Let us just look at them as human beings who is needing our assistance, and let it start from our homes. Let us not talk negative. When you see on the news, oh, another boat, or another, let's say, those are human beings. That is somebody's child. That is somebody's father. That is somebody's mother. Let us look at them like that, and let us see how can we help. How can we give something small to share with them? Let us open our homes. Not only our homes, let us open our hearts too. Enjoy the talk and the music, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary, and special thank you to Erin Black and Lucy Smith from the Asylum Seekers Centre for bringing us that message. And now we have some very special guests joining us on stage. I would like to welcome Roaa Ahmed. Hello, Roaa.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. And Mithat Unlu.
Hello.
Hello, Mithat. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's so wonderful to have you here, and it's so wonderful to know that both of you have been granted asylum in Australia, so congratulations.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
We've had the opportunity to have a little chat before this evening, so we actually got to speak about a few of the experiences that you've had and some of the things that you want to share with our audience tonight who may not understand a lot about the journey you've been through. But I want to start by asking you both if you can tell us about this experience that you've had and this journey. Even though you've both come from different families, you both have had very different life journeys in getting here, you both had this extraordinary experience of waking up one day and finding yourselves without passports and without visas in another country. Can you tell us about that? I might come to you first, actually, Mithat, on that one.
Yeah, of course. Maybe you know, I came here from China, but normally my background is Turkish. I lived in China 5 years roughly. And maybe you know, last 5 years, lots of things happens in Turkey. And then everything was very good in China. I used to do my own business in China. And then one day I went to Consulate General in Shanghai, and then to get some paper to extend my visa. And then they told me your passport canceled suddenly. And then later, I checked what would happen, why they canceled my passport. Not only me, they canceled more than 300,000 passports, not only me. All of them educated people. These numbers, formal numbers, the government has these numbers. So maybe more than this number, I don't know.
Wow.
Maybe more than 300,000, maybe 400,000, we don't know. I am one of them, by the way. They canceled my passport, I think, because of we are against, we told something against government, I think. We are not agree for something for them, and then I think they canceled our passport. We don't know the reason, actually, but if you are against him, and then against government or against president, actually, they cancel your passport straight away. Now, 300,000 educated people, teachers, academic peoples, police, soldier, lots of people. So they canceled my passport. After that, normally I have master's degree, I have bachelor degree, everything. But after they canceling your passport, you are a huge zero, nothing. Because you don't have opportunity to stay in China, you have to find another country. So I discussed with my family, and then we decided to come here. It's the process. But it is not easy, because maybe you try to build up your life 20 years, 30 years, and then suddenly someone stops everything. And then you can't use your language, you can't do your job, and then you have to leave your friends behind you, and then everything. So
Wow.
actually, it was
just
a really hard time.
overnight,
Yeah.
a really an extraordinary idea to imagine, everyone at home, just imagine that idea of waking up and not having being stateless, really, not having a passport. And that's hard enough to understand when you're an adult and you're working in the community, but you were a kid as well, Roa, when this happened to you, right? Can you tell me about that experience from your perspective?
So I think it's going to be a bit different because I was a kid. So I am Egyptian, I came from Egypt, but then similarly I came from China too. I went to Egypt when I was a bit young. I was in year 7. I finished year 7, then we had to move to China because of political reasons. And then when I went to China, it was like really hard, starting again from the zero, as he said. And it was hard because it was a new language. But it's kind of like fine because I was like a kid still. Like I didn't really see that difference. And then I was in Arabic school, like my friends were Arabs, I was fine. But then when our visa after 3.5 years got cancelled too, and then we had nowhere to go. So it's really hard to find yourself not knowing where to go and what you're doing next. What about next day? It's not just the next few months, it's about your next day, where you're going. Then we came to Australia. I was a bit older, I was 16. And it was kind of more harder than when I was a kid because I already established my life. I was in year 11, I already started year 11, and I had my friends, all my friends were there, and then I have to start again for the second time, a whole new life, new language. I studied English for a bit, but it was just grammar. I wouldn't speak it, I wouldn't know how to say a sentence. So when I came to here, I was like, oh, new language. And then I have to study in this language. And I never studied any subjects in English, any. So I had to and they say learning a language takes time. And I was already 16 and I have to be in year 11. Then I would take a year off to be able to learn the language. It was really hard as a teenager to start from the beginning again.
Yeah.
And you have no friends, you have no family, you have nothing, literally you have nothing.
I mean, I think the idea of putting yourself in that position and imagining people find high school hard enough as it is, let alone starting again, for the third time really, starting through high school and to then have to do it in a new language and with new friends. And there are other barriers as well to people seeking asylum. actually getting an education. And I know it's wonderful you've both received support from the Asylum Seekers Centre through the long process of seeking asylum. But I was shocked to learn how expensive and difficult it is to even access education as a student in Australia. Roaa, can you tell us more about that?
So I stayed at home for like more than 6 months. I couldn't go to school. Like I did my applications, but I wasn't enrolled in a school. Like they said you can't be enrolled. And I was like, then what I'm gonna do? Just stay at home? Or like, I'm 16, I need to continue my education. It's just the only thing that I can do for now. I can't work, I can't do anything. It was so hard going through all the applications to get the permanent visa, applications to go to the school, and many, because I have sisters, I have brothers, like I'm doing all of that. Like my family had a lot of pressure and a lot of anxiety, like when we're gonna get this done. And then we all were new to the language, so we couldn't really understand like some of the applications, and then we had to translate, and it was a long process of like not knowing what to do next. Then where I submitted our application, then we have to stay at home to see what they're gonna say. And when they're gonna say it, we don't know. If I'm going to school tomorrow, if I'm going to school next year, if I'm going to school, if I'm not going at all. It was really hard. And I remember when because I went to English Centre to learn English for a bit, and I remember I went there, but then I spent the whole day there, and I was like, oh, I'm starting now. Now I'm starting learning English, I'm starting my journey again. But then the next day, they told me when I came again, they told me you can't be here. Your application isn't submitted yet, and you can't be enrolled now. And I was like, what should I do now? And they like say, you have to go home and stay until we call you back. After more than a month, they called me, and I was gonna cry because I was so happy that I'm coming back again to education. Like, for me, it's the most important thing as a teenager. What you have to do is to get educated and like to go to a school and then go to uni. But then when I started learning English, it was alright. I learned it. Like I'm lucky that I'm one of the ones that actually got to learn the language and be fluent in it. But people aren't lucky like me. Like some people can't still speak the language, and they still have it as a barrier for them to continue their education. And it was a barrier for me too to do science, for example, because all my life I was studying science in another language, and science has its own language. Then I couldn't study it in English. Then I had to shift my career if I had something to do with science, so I have to do another thing. It's just like you're changing your whole life. It's not just you changing a country or changing a place to live in, it's changing your whole life.
And I was really astonished as well that people seeking asylum, children seeking asylum, have to pay full fees to go even to primary school, secondary school, high school, to university.
Yeah.
It's such a huge barrier, and as you said, you've got to fill in all these forms just to be able to go to school and not pay tens of thousands or thousands of dollars to be able to go to school. It's extraordinary. I know, Mithat, that education has been really important for you as well, and you have actually achieved an incredible number of qualifications since you arrived in Australia. Can you tell us about that and why that's important to you?
Okay. As I said before, if you are a refugee, it means you are a huge zero. So, you need to do something. First of all, you tell yourself, yes, maybe you are zero, but you can do it again, because you can start from zero, but and then you can build up again everything. So I think there are 4 important steps. I think it is very important for me. One of them may be network. It is very important. Network means maybe friends, maybe someone help you. And then another one, you need to tell yourself you can success, maybe. Another one, maybe you need to be very, very active. I'm going to answer your question now. And then another one, whatever you find, what job you find, you have to do it. You can't say, I don't like it. I was a teacher before. I was a general manager before. No problem. So why I get too many qualifications? Because these qualifications, I have, I think, more than 40 qualifications now, licenses and then qualifications.
More than 40 qualifications
more than 40,
since you arrived in Australia?
Yes, in 3.5 years, yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Why these are important? Maybe some of them I will never use in my life. Maybe I will never see it. again, I don't know. But it is important to get a good network, first of all. And then self-confidence. It is very important. If you get too many qualifications, you can be a bit confident, I think. And then it is important for you to improve your language, improve your skills, and then to know people. It is very important how people behave, how they obey the rules or not. So it was very, very important for me. I think this helped me too much, I think. Otherwise, now I feel myself, yes, I am in Australia last 3.5 years, but I feel myself, I am living in Australia last 20 years.
Yeah.
Maybe I am living very fast, maybe, I don't know. So it is very, very important. I suggest everyone, all asylums, to get these qualifications, all these courses. Even if you don't do it, even maybe you will not use it, but no problem. Time is very important. Maybe daytime you can work, and then at night you can go, you can get some qualifications, and then it's going to help too much. I think it's my opinion.
I love that as well, that you build friendships and networks, you build your own confidence, you build, and of course, expand the range of what is open to you to do. And whether or not you use them, I would love to see the list of actually all of these different skills that you have, because I imagine that you can draw on them in the future as you build your career as well. But you also discovered while you were going through that process, you were telling me that sometimes of course, the forms are really demanding, as Roaa said, but there's a lot of expenses that are involved with seeking asylum and with being accepted. And some of the expenses around health and health checks are extraordinary. Can you tell us a little bit about that too?
Okay. I think most of asylums come here with empty pockets, I think. Nothing in pocket. So it is very, very hard. At first, you need to rent a house, and then you need to pay bond, and then you need to pay maybe next 4 weeks, I don't know. And then you need to travel to seek job, and then lots of things. For the health check, yes, after interview, they invited me for health check. I had 2 kids before, now 3, by the way. And then my 2 kids plus my wife plus me, I think we had to pay roughly 1,900 something. Yeah, it is really expensive. Yeah, maybe it is for normal people. It is normal, maybe, I don't know. But for asylums, it is really too much. To find this money, you have to work. But you can't say, because if you are asylum, it is very hard to find a job. And then maybe it is just enough for survival. So I think we need to focus this section. After coming here till getting protection, this period is very, very important for asylums, I think. They are really getting hard times, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really hard, and then it is very, very expensive.
There's so many challenges, and imagine overcoming those with no network and nowhere to turn to support, aside from organisations like the Asylum Seekers Centre, like Amnesty International. But despite all of those challenges, the two of you have persevered, and your families have overcome, and now you're focused as well on making a contribution back to the community now that you have been granted asylum. Can you tell us, Roaa, I might start with you, tell us what is your focus at the moment, and how are you contributing back to Australia?
So I think when I was like in Asylum Seekers Centre, when I used to visit there, I was like, these people are really helping us. Like, I want to pay it off. Like, you want to pay back everything you got, like, from them, the help you get from the community around you. So I was like, I want to volunteer too. I want to be a volunteer. I want to pay off everything I've been given. I've been an Arabic teacher for like kids. I teach kids voluntarily, and it's actually amazing that you get to know kids. You get to teach them how to speak Arabic and how to keep the language and how to keep the culture, which is very important, like for refugee Arabs here. And I think like I'm just gonna continue working as like a volunteer, and then even I'm gonna be a volunteer for refugees to help with them back, because I am a refugee. I understand what they're going through. I know how to help them. I want to become like, I want to study media and comm with psychology. Both of them, sometimes they don't really work together, but then I want to speak up for them. I want to speak up for refugee rights, and at the same time, I want to help them. I want to help the mental health issues, because when you come here, you feel like you're mentally damaged. Yeah, you have nothing. You can't stay. You can't keep silent. You can't stay. You have to go up and fight for your life. It's either you fight, or it's either you have to go anywhere else. So I think they come here with like depression, anxiety, feelings that they can't even express, which I really want to help them in this way.
That's wonderful. And you're going through year 12 at the moment too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge amount of work in itself, and you're still volunteering, you're still supporting people in the community, and that's wonderful. Thank you. Now, Mithat, I know that you've done a lot in giving back to the community, in that you are now someone who not just is working, but you're also employing other people. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. I saw both sections of the life. I think it was really good before, and then I never imagined to be an asylum before. So, but suddenly, as I said, I became an asylum. So I saw both of them. I think we can understand best the refugees, I think, because we saw all the process. I think so I became at first taking hand, and then after that, now we are trying to be giving hand, I
Yes.
think. So I saw both of them. So I think it is very, very important for us, as refugees, to do some contributions to donations, So what I'm trying to do is now, I am trying to donate to lots of charities, not only asylum seekers, Advocate for Dignity, and then Galaxy Foundation, also Australian Relief Organization, lots of charities. It is very, very important because I know what they feel. I know what challenges they are having now. I know very well. So I think we have to do it as refugees. It is very, very important. But sometimes people forget where they come from. It is very important. We shouldn't forget where we came from, and then we need to keep doing donations, keep doing contributions. I think it's very, very important, because we don't know what's going to happen in future.
And you know, as when we spoke, you said, you know, you never imagined what it would be like to be a refugee, and you know, it's something that you encountered a lot of people who were refugees in Turkey, but now being in their shoes, as you say, you can see both sides of the coin, and I think it's really remarkable as well that you now are employing people who are seeking asylum. You're giving people that way in and that support that they need to help themselves, and thank you for that contribution. And thank both of you for giving us a window into the experience of being a person in our community seeking asylum. And I'm so grateful for that generosity of sharing your story, but also for the contribution that you make to Australia. So thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Only a few of us here to clap tonight, but you know, I'm sure everyone is clapping at home as well. Now, next we're going to see a beautiful film. It's made by the artist Natalie Hartog-Gautier and Broken Yellow, and it's called Looking for Paradise. The film was made as part of a work which includes handmade books, and Natalie's work looks at past and present policies that different governments instigated to either help or deny people in need of a safe haven. The project is a reminder of Australia's responsibilities as a signatory of the United Nations Human Rights Charter. Now, the voices in this film are those of people seeking asylum who work with and who receive support from the Asylum Seekers Centre. And many of them are tuning in tonight, as is Natalie. I hope you enjoy the film.
Article 1. Recognition of the inherent dignity and equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world.
Article 2. Refugees, asylum seekers, and internally displaced persons have the right to be treated in accordance with the international standards, which accord respect to and protection of their fundamental human rights.
Article 3. Everyone has the right to live without fear of persecution and to flee persecution.
Article 4. Refugees have the right to seek and enjoy asylum from persecution in another country without having their entry prevented and without being penalized.
Article 5. No refugee or asylum seeker shall be forced to return to a country where he or she might face persecution or torture.
Article 6. Refugees are entitled to the security of an effective and durable solution in the form of voluntary repatriation, local integration, or resettlement within a reasonable time frame.
Article 7. The unity of the refugee family is a fundamental right which must be respected.
Article 8. Especially vulnerable members of refugee communities are to be treated with special care, and where children are involved, the right of the child must be paramount.
Article 9. Asylum seekers have a right to have their claims processed through procedures which are transparent, fair, and timely.
Article 10. Asylum seekers are not to be subjected to arbitrary or unreviewed detention.
Article 11. States have a responsibility to create a safe and welcoming environment for refugees, free from xenophobia and discrimination.
Article 12. States have a responsibility to ensure that their refugee policies are ethically sound and consistent with international legal standards.
Thank you, Natalie and Broken Yellow, for that beautiful film, and thank you to everyone who contributed to making it. The film and the physical books which accompany this film will be exhibited at the Manly Art Gallery and Museum as part of a celebration of 60 years of printmaking. The exhibition can be visited from this Saturday, the 26th of June. Now I would like to welcome Francis Rush, OAM, CEO of the Asylum Seekers Centre, and Graham Thom, as Amnesty International Australia's Refugee Coordinator. Francis and Graham are going to talk about the most pressing issues for them and for the people they represent and support right now.
Hello, everyone, and thanks, Jess. Before I start, I'd just like to really pay my respects to Yvonne Weldon and that enormously warm and inspiring welcome to country. It was everything that we're wanting to talk about tonight. How do we become a better community? How do we walk together? And I think that Yvonne put out a challenge for all of us. I too pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Jess said we're in for a terrific night, and I think you'd agree. And the fact it's on is fantastic, and it's credit to so many people from the City of Sydney. It is to Amnesty staff, our staff from ASC, all our event volunteers, and we'll have more thanks later. I think tonight is really a chance to look at celebration and contribution of our diverse and multicultural community. To just hear that discussion then between Jess, Scully and Roaa and Mithat, I think was inspiring, and I think a lot of people don't always understand what it would be like to start again, to start not once but several times, To start and rely, I was very taken by Mithat saying, you start at zero. For a person who brings a family out to commence again and what that is like. I have the privilege of being the CEO of the Asylum Seekers Centre, and on behalf of our board, and a really big shout out to our staff and our volunteers, and to you who are tuning in tonight and who are our partners. As Jess said, we couldn't do this without the support of the Australian people. I want to talk a little bit about COVID, because look, we're back again. Who would have thought? And just when we thought it was safe to go back into the water, look at where we are placed now. When COVID hit, as Jez outlined, you could see that overnight the people who'd been working 3 or 4 part-time jobs and who were paying their own rent, who are independent and paying tax, lost that overnight. Lost the capacity to put food on their table, not from a want of hard work, but because there was no safety net provided by our Australian government. I think that is something which is a shame for us as a country and for us as a community, and it's something that we want to address. Again, tribute to our staff and volunteers who really, we had to change our service pretty well overnight. Instead of people coming to us, we went to them. We learnt a lot about where people were living, and I think there is a hidden secret Sydney story. It still shocks me today, the number of families who live in sheds, who live in the level of poverty or close to poverty that most of us would not believe exists in this very rich community. I think that's a challenge for us. We listened, we heard what people were saying, and we took action. So we changed our service. After 27 years, instead of having all services under one roof, we created a service that now operates out of 3 different centres. We know that we had to be stronger connectors to community. We know that we had to look at increasing our workforce at this stage by volunteers as well, looking at how we connect. Yvonne Weldon talked about the importance of community, and even though we're in COVID and that disconnect can happen so easily, it's that challenge for all of us to not let it happen and to take actions. We are looking now, and it was mentioned by Roaa and Mithat and Rosemary, Kariuki, the stress and the impact on mental health for people. Tonight you're going to hear amazing more stories from people who've been in detention, offshore and onshore. And to really look at that toll of past trauma, detention, but I think what's common to all and the people we support is that toll of being in limbo. And that is not tenable or tolerable for such an extended period of time. We worked, and we always work with government, behind the scenes and also proactively, to put forward some challenges. We've worked very closely with Refugee Council of Australia, our colleagues in New South Wales, and a shout out to Jesuit Refugee Service, House of Welcome, Red Cross, and many others. We work together because we're more powerful if we do. We share resources when we can, and we're always making representation at a federal and a state and local level. But what we are seeing is the lack of traction at a federal government level. And what we are seeing is that the federal government is, you would say, in this COVID environment, undeniably responsible for quarantining, but it has devolved that to the states. It is also, our Australian government has a responsibility to provide some basic human rights and care for people seeking asylum while they wait for their claim to be processed for asylum. We'll hear now, I'm sure, from Dr. Thom about that incredible period of time that is so extended for people in our community. But what we are seeing is that also, as Australia has a signatory to the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, we are not meeting our obligations, and again, devolving to the states. Most states have delivered their budgets. We know that New South Wales delivered its budget last night. The allocation for people seeking asylum was zil, nothing. Queensland released their budget about 3 to 4 weeks ago. They gave $8.3 million to people seeking asylum and the agency supporting them over a 3-year period. That's about 2.8 million a year. Victoria has given a variety of funds. They started with 3.1 million to people seeking asylum and agencies, but they topped that up with 50 million this budget to look at what people are going through as a result of COVID for $50 million for people on temporary visas. We need to lift our voice to continue to work with government to see some change. And I think it will happen, but it's not going to be happening unless we really commit to raising our voices. We have seen, I think, in a sign of hope that with the Billawheeler family, I think that sense of connecting to human beings when we get to actually see and hear their story, it's a tribute to the Billawheeler community who never stopped in terms of a vigil of keeping their story alive, the advocates, and really connecting when we saw small children like that, of Thanaka, who for 4 years, or really 3 at the time, had spent, or 3 years of her life in detention, and 2 of those offshore on Christmas Island. But when you see the fact that that family has been reunited in Perth, not Billawheeler yet, that is really a testimony to people who raise their voices, to all of us, and that exposure to say, what are we doing in the name of our government in detaining people? And it's not good enough. It is the Australian people saying, we will provide change. So I think that is something that gives me hope. I think we can expect to keep all our voices loud so that they return to Billawheeler where arguably they should be. And the Minister, Minister Hawke, has the discretion and the power to do it today. I'm going to finish there now, and I'm going to pass on to Dr. Graham Thom. But again, I want to say thank you to you, because at the moment, in New South Wales particularly, the safety net provided for people seeking asylum are charities. And that is not good enough. And we're going to put out, and everyone who's tuned in tonight will get an email tomorrow with a whole series of actions that you can take. We really encourage you to do it. We thank you for your support, and you're in for a continued great night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frances. I would also like to extend my thanks to Yvonne Weldon for her amazing welcome to country. It is such a privilege always to be on Gadigal land, and I would also like to acknowledge that we're meeting here on Gadigal land and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I think we forget sometimes how lucky we are to be on such beautiful land here in Sydney. And I think during Refugee Week, because that's why we're meeting here during Refugee Week, it's important for us to take a moment to remember how safe we are here on this land, the security we have on this land. And I was at a citizenship ceremony in Parliament House with Minister Hawke this morning, and all the refugees there who were lucky enough to be able to become Australian citizens, proudly become Australian citizens, highlighted the fact that they are now safe and that they can now get on with their life. But as Frances has just acknowledged, and I would like to thank the Asylum Seekers Centre for their amazing work, as well as the City of Sydney for hosting us tonight. But as Frances acknowledged, here in Australia, we have a number of groups who are stuck in limbo. You know, we talk about asylum seekers, we talk about refugees in Refugee Week. We talk about 82 million people displaced worldwide, 26 million of those are refugees. And we forget that these are people, these are human beings. I think the beauty of tonight is that we are hearing from people with lived experience about what it's like to seek asylum. We're going to hear what it's like to be held in limbo, deliberately held in limbo, offshore, out of mind, out of sight. And the way that Australia has responded to just a small number of people who have managed to get to this country, this lucky country, to seek protection, to say, please help me, is extraordinary. You could not make up the categories that we have and the way that we treat people, whether they come by plane and are in the community going through the processes that we've heard, but again, many of them without a safety net, with no support, relying on the people who are watching us here tonight and the organisations that Francis have highlighted to give the basic support that they deserve. But we also have people who came by boat, and it so much depends on when they arrived. We have people in the community who are called the legacy caseload because they came here before July 2013. Many of those people are still going through a process. A decade later, they still haven't been processed, and they're still in the community. They're still being supported by the Asylum Seekers Centre. Others have already been granted protection, and you think, well, that's fantastic. That should be what Australia does best. And yet, no. We now have thousands and thousands of people on temporary protection visas, or CHEV visas, as they're called, the enterprise visas, which really only grants them a few years of protection, and then they have to apply again. These people are not allowed to leave the country, like most of us at the moment, but they're never allowed to reunite with their family. We are deliberately keeping families separated forever, despite the fact that we've recognised that they need protection, and we acknowledge the amazing contribution they are providing to this country. We are deliberately discriminating against that group. But as we're also going to hear tonight, there are a group who arrived, just so happened to get on a boat after the 19th of July 2013. Coming up to 8 years of their life, they've been held in limbo. We still have 200 people on Nauru and in PNG, in limbo, not knowing what the future will hold for them, in conditions that we know have damaged them. It has damaged them so badly that in fact we now have over 1,200 people here in Australia getting medical treatment because of the damage that policy has caused. But where are those people? Again, totally arbitrary. We have 140 still in some form of detention, whether it's in a detention centre or whether it's in a hotel. You know, we're going to meet some amazing people tonight, amazing musicians who should be contributing to this country, and yet years held offshore and over a year held in a hotel detention centre. For what? And now they're in the community on bridging visas. We have 500 or so people on 6 months final departure bridging visas with work rights, but again, no support. Imagine having no work history, no rental history, and after 8 years, nearly 8 years, you're turfed out into the community and told you have to get on with your life now, but you've only got 6 months, and then you're going to have to apply again. What a waste of resources. What a waste of human life that we're seeing. And that waste will become even more apparent in a few minutes when we see the amazing performance that we're going to see tonight. We have others in community detention, residence determination. The Biloela family, after years in detention, were put into community detention where they get housing, they get support, but they don't get work rights. Here's a husband who was working, contributing in Biloela, part of the community, paying taxes, put into community detention. Now they've been given bridging visas. They are just arbitrarily messing with people's lives who should be contributing to this country. You know, with Amnesty International, we've had some amazing support from the musicians you'll see tonight, to people like Craig Foster, Sonny Bill Williams, athletes, musicians, others, ordinary Australians, tens of thousands of ordinary Australians who have just said, what is going on? Australia is better than this. Where is our humanity gone? We can do better. We shouldn't be keeping people in limbo. We should be allowing people who have now gone to the US, engineers, lawyers, teachers, sports people, doing amazing things. Bruce Bachani, who I had the pleasure to meet when he arrived in New Zealand, a fabulous writer, poet, journalist, filmmaker. He's now part of New Zealand society. And this is what we need to remember when we are keeping these people in limbo and wasting these resources, that there are solutions. There are solutions on the table. Since 2013, New Zealand has offered to take 150 people a year. New Zealand, back in 2001, took the Tampa boys. Hundreds of people went to New Zealand, refugees, and have contributed to that country. New Zealand knows the contribution they can make, and they've offered to do it again for nearly 8 years. It is time for Australia to accept that offer. Let's stop wasting people's lives. Let's find permanent solutions for the people who are in this country with protection. Let's make sure that those who have solutions being offered elsewhere, like New Zealand, can have those solutions. And let's make sure that the people who are in this country, who are going through a legal process, who will ultimately be recognised as refugees, have the support that they deserve so they can contribute to this country and become great Australian citizens, like the people I met this morning who are able to meet the minister, get that certificate from him and say, this is my country, this is my home. Because that's what refugees in this country deserve. They will become great citizens. They have been great citizens for decades, and that's why we're here tonight. This is World Refugee Week, and let's celebrate together, and I look forward to celebrating with you all with some fabulous music coming up. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Graham, and thank you, Francis, too. We've been so fortunate to hear earlier the stories from Roaa and from Mithat, and they're able to share their stories because it's safe for them to do so. Now they have been granted asylum. But for many people seeking asylum, the uncertainty of their future, the possible effect on their applications for protection, and the safety of their family members back home make it impossible for them to be identified when they tell their stories. In this next film, a young woman we will call Nadira will tell us what her life is like in Sydney.
When I first arrived to Australia, I can describe my experience. I was really afraid and scared because I was not expecting myself to come here. It happened just suddenly. It was not my choice, so it happened just within 24 hours to come here and move to Australia. I arrived right when the corona happened, so the first day of the quarantine, I didn't know anybody here. That was really scary for me, and I didn't know where to go or who to approach. Most of them were really scared because I was new in the country. They thought I have the disease with me. I felt like nervous, so I was really afraid. I didn't know what to do. I tried to call some of the organization, but none of them were actually helpful for me because I was not eligible for help here yet. And some they said there's no place for me because they already have a lot. One guy from organization told me if nobody help you, try to approach any park or maybe train station and you can just live there for one night. I told him, no way, it's really scary, I've never done it in my life. I just went to a police station and I just told them that I'm homeless and I'm looking for a place to stay or if they know someone that can help. He was really kind. He told me that he will call somebody, but even he checked and he told me you're not eligible for any help because you still you just arrived here and you don't have any kind of visa or rights. I met one lady and she told me about the Asylum Seekers Centre, and that day I just called them and I was not really hoping for anything. One of the work case here called me and he told me they will help me. I found a place, and they started supporting me with food and medicines and even like a medical checkup here. Back then I really had bad depression because of changing the country and culture shock for me. I had a lot of troubles, nightmares, and really bad depression. I remember emailing the asylum seeker at night, telling them about my nightmare, and I was like crying. It's really hard because that makes me feel very lonely without my family and my boyfriend. So I remember I came here, I met the doctors, and yeah, they start to hear my stories. They found me one psychologist, and I started taking antidepressant. I haven't heard anything from the department because of Corona. So far, a year and a half, like waiting all that time, and I don't know if I'm really gonna get the PR or not. Like until now, I don't know what's the end of, yeah. So I just feel like it's this feeling gonna be forever with me until I meet them. There's no way to help me avoid that feeling. Some of the sketches you might see, it's really dark. You can tell how bad I was feeling. After I moved in 1 month, my sketches just like started to change to feel more about fashion, colorful. And after like few months, even I stopped the antidepressant medicine. Finally, I found the right path to follow, which I didn't expect it in this country. I studied fashion design, and now I'm working as a designer of one of like the famous designers in Australia. That's a really big thing for me. Like, she told me, welcome to Australia, and I kind of teared when she told me. They always treat me like I'm one of them. There is rights here. You can fight for your rights, and you will get it because I have a voice to talk.
Thank you, Nadira, for sharing your story and for giving us that insight into your experience. It's wonderful to see the work of the Asylum Seekers Centre in action. We're entering the rockstar component of the evening. And our next speaker really is one of those guys who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him a short one. Craig Foster is an Australian soccer legend. He's a human rights advocate, and he's an Amnesty International Game Over ambassador. Please welcome Craig to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jess, and welcome to everyone this evening, both in the crowd and, of course, all of those at home. Thank you for tuning in this evening. It's a really important night, and it's a very special night for a variety of reasons. Thanks to everyone in our first hour who's been speaking. We've heard from some people with lived experience. We've heard from Thom from Amnesty, and, of course, Francis from Asylum Seekers Centre. Thank you to the City of Sydney for the opportunity to be here. I say that it's very special and it's important week, Refugee Week 2021, because it's time for change. As you heard from Thom before, we still have over 200 people locked offshore on Nauru and in Port Moresby after 8 years. We still have 140 Medivac refugees locked in hotels 24 hours a day. They too suffered through Manus Island and Nauru. And they came for medical treatment, meaning they were already deeply sick after what we did to them. It's our responsibility, all of us as Australians. And this is a week when we have to reflect on that. The only way we can make change is to come together, all of us, and say no more, enough. I hope at the end of this evening there'll be more Australians who'll join with us to say no. We want freedom for everyone. 8 long years. To do so, we're going to learn, you and I, by hearing from 2 very special human beings. Inspirations. 2 men in Farhad Bandesh and Mostafa Azimitabar who suffered through and survived the 8-year offshore detention regime on the horrible, horrific Manus Island, and almost a year and a half locked up on shore in the Mantra Hotel, Park Hotel, and in Maita, in Farhad's case. We're going to hear what that did to them, how they survived, and how important music was to both resistance and to be able to get through. We're thrilled tonight to be joined by the brilliant Jim Magini from the Midnight Oils, great refugee supporter, friend of Farhad and Mostafa Azimitabar, Kent and Paul from the Celibate Rifles, Tim from Neville, and Conrad. Please put your hands together for Farhad Bandesh, Kurdish refugee, with his protest song, Cruel Policy.
I fled my land, my heart in my hand, captive of the light, thought they do right, thought their humanity only insanity. Australia's cruel policy only showing hostility. Peacefully came to your shore, so in years gone, but you want more. Peacefully came to your shore, so in years gone, but you want more. With every day full of bread, is it better? If we're dead, a constant state of shock, of horse and months been locked, families, friends and hopes, full of if we die alone. It really is too much to bear. Freedom and safety are only fair. I am you, you are me, but you can help me be free. I am asking you all now to stand proud and stand tall, to stand and to fight for his freedom, that's right. Peacefully came to your shore, so when years gone but you want more. With every day full of bread, is it better? If we're dead. Peacefully came to your shore, so when years gone but you want more. With every day full of bread, is it better? If we're dead.
How did that feel, brother?
Feeling is really beautiful. I couldn't imagine one day I can sing a song in front of many people. Unfortunately, we have no enough audience because of COVID-19, but I'm sure many people are watching online, and this is beautiful. I am here with beautiful musicians and sing from heart and pain.
Cruel Policy. Tell us about the year that you wrote it, what it's about, and those early years on Manus Island.
Cruel Policy, it's very simple to understand. It's cruel policy. I wrote this while we had no power, water, medical. They cut everything from us. 24 days we were suffering, and they treat us worse than criminals. And I decided to write a song, Cruel Policy, with my friend General Quincy, and that was 2017.
Take us back to the start, when you fled and you had a vision of an Australia that respected human rights, that respected refugee rights, and that you could find safety, is what you're looking for. What happened?
I thought Australia, it's a great country. It's a great country, actually, but the policy from the government is really ridiculous. They treat us like we are not humans. I had to flee my land to find safety. Instead, welcoming me, the government exiled me with hundreds of innocent refugees to a remote island, Manus Island. And I had a really bad experience while I was in detention. I am still suffering from trauma and pain.
Tell us about, if you can, some of those moments. We talked only a few nights ago about the pain that you were suffering, and it's important for Australians to understand that we put you into this cage, and then as you broke down and you suffered and you got sick and psychological illness, and all of the refugees were their health degrading, the way that we, our doctors, our system treated you. What happened when you had some soreness here and some issues?
You know, when you are sick, you need doctor, visit a doctor or nurse. As my experience, and many refugees on Manus Island, and I am sure in other prison detention in Australia, offshore and offshore, they have the same experience. When I visit a doctor and I said I am in pain, the doctor said, you can have some Panadol and water. And when I said I'm bleeding from pain every day, I cannot handle the pain. He said, oh, you want to go to Australia? This is not the way you want to go to Australia. I said, look at me as a patient. I look at you as a doctor. You have some duty and you need to respect it. And this is something, it's from the cruel system, is treat innocent people between wires. You know, we had lots of bad experience. We have been insulted. We have been tortured for years. We have been beaten. We have been attacked by the regime. For what? We are not their enemy. We are seeking asylum. We're just looking for safety and freedom. They should help us. But I am really happy about Australian people. They help me and others. We survive. I am here. I'm free.
And how important were your protest songs? How important was your art and your music to surviving?
Art and music always are part of my resistance. Without those, I couldn't survive, seriously. And it helped me to not go crazy and send the message by my art and music to the community, and to tell them we are innocent, we are looking for safety, and look, what the government is treat us is not fair, it's cruel. And I think my music the protest songs I create while I was in detention is so important for me, and for many people. They listen to me. They understand what's happening in detention centers.
And when we took away your voice in the first few years, there was no mobile phones, and you were under constant pressure from guards and the whole system to be quiet, to not speak out. But you could speak out through music, right?
Exactly. Music is like my friend. And I love music. I love to create music and art. And they are beautiful.
Even when it comes to art, you kept producing. In fact, you made over 100 pieces when you were in prison. You were in prison for 8 years. But even then, they kept taking the materials off you, right?
Yes, I remember when they exiled us to Manus Island. I was in Oscar compound. The staff, I cannot say she was a teacher, art teacher, because teacher needs to look after a student. If I am a student, she had to look after me as a student. I asked for just pencil and paper. She said, you can use them while I am here, and then I take them back. So I don't understand. I want to create something. I want to spend some of my time with art. Even I couldn't access the simple things, some simple paper to draw. And finally, I got some materials from the Australian community, and I paint more than 100 artworks, and I'm honored. I had some exhibition in Melbourne. My friends helped me, and I really appreciate them.
Before we hear your next piece, just tell Australia, will you please, Farhad, about when you had so much pain in your jaw and how you kept trying to get treatment, and in the end you had to write a submission in a especially horrific way. Tell us about that.
I was suffering from toothache for 16 months when I was in Manus prison detention. I asked the dentist, when is my appointment? They said, you are not in the list. When was that? After 7 months. And then finally, after 60 months, they said, it's too late to fix your tooth. We need to pull it out. And this happened to me, to one of my other teeth. When I was in Mantra Hotel, they said, you lied. You are fine. But they could see my jaw is swollen and is bleeding. I showed them. The circle manager said, it's fine. This is nothing. Just take some water. You will be fine. This is not right to treat innocent people. And the dentist was just across the road.
And how did you write, in the end, what did you write, the submission, the final submission in?
Yeah, I wrote with my blood. Actually, was a complaint, not a request. A complaint to the system. This is my blood. You can take it and examine it and test it if I am lying. And I keep for a few times. Finally, they said, okay, we hear you. See, this is a really cruel how they treat me. As not a refugee, as a patient. I am a patient at the moment. You need to treat me first.
What is the next song that you're singing for us?
The next song is The Big Exile. I hope you like it.
Wonderful.
Thank you. floated like a bird, languish in a cage, eyes full of tears, holes in humanity, too deep to fail, creeping in insanity, against my will, yearning for freedom, stolen from me, years of life, how easily we break each other. Smack to the bars, in search of escape. I want to be free, to soar and say, endless open, where peace prevails. The breeze is cool, the smell is sweet, the big exile, just be me, wander around, just be free, stolen from me, years of life, how easily we break each other.
Tell us about this song.
The big exile, it's about to be free from cages, from prison, detention. You need to breathe freely. And I think enough is enough. You need to break this jail, the bars, and be free like others. This doesn't make sense. When you are innocent, you are in between wires.
What year was that?
2018.
You're still on Manus Island?
Yes.
You've been there 5 years?
Yes.
You're inside a cage looking out, and freedom, a life, standing on a stage and practicing your art. Being free is something that's still illusory. It's still a dream. You don't know how long this is going. You've got really no hope. You survived because you're incredibly strong, you and Moz. You are resistance fighters, by nature. You're Kurdish. But everyone was not so fortunate. Tell us about some of your friends on Manus, and please let Australia understand some of the harm that we visited on innocent people and what happened to them, some of your friends, because you lost some of them.
I survived because of my art, my music, my family, and my friends. And of course, I am one of those people who are still suffering, and those still, they are free. We are all the same, and I think without these things I couldn't survive. And it doesn't mean if I am strong, I don't have pain, but I am still carrying the pain, and I think the art and music helped me a lot. Many things happened to us while we were in detention. They attacked us. They shot the gun. I lost my best friend, Reza Barati, and others innocent people. And they continue this cruelty, and we lost others, unfortunately. And many people got mentally and physically issues because of this. And the bad things the system did to us was neglect of medical. There was nothing help from the government, and it still is continue, which is really sad.
And take us through that period of 24 days. What happened? And one of the ironies, great ironies, sad ironies of this whole 8-year atrocity, really, is that at the time when Australia lost our sense of humanity and treated you as subhuman, I said to you the other night as animals, you said no, not as animals, because animals have rights.
Exactly.
As subhuman, you on this prison island in a cage, you all came together and found strength in your humanity and in democracy, because all of the different communities started to work together. You knew you were all in trouble, you looked after each other, and even today you support all of those people here and around the world. But you came together for 24 days, and we saw images back here of all of you sitting like this. Tell us about what happened.
They cut power, water, food, medical from us, but we survived. We were like a small community. We look after each other, which is really beautiful. And we had really beautiful time because we were more united that time. We could hear each other. We could look after each other. We had many people, they were really sick. We look after them. And that was our duty, not government, of course. And finally, they attacked us to remove us from the detention to another detention. And they did. They didn't respect our character. They destroyed our characters. And they just wanted to remove us. We were like criminals. They beaten us, like their enemy. And finally, they removed us to another person. But it affected really badly to the people, which is still they carrying the trauma and pain. It's not fair.
And during all that time, Australians, and this is our policy, we get up every day, we have opportunities to do things, we know that we can shape our future, or at least what the future might look like, and we have this concept of hope that we're not in limbo, this is not indefinite, things can change tomorrow. Can you try and explain for people at home, please, Farhad, as difficult as it is, you're in there 5-6 years before you come here, what does it do to a human being when you know that you have a right to be somewhere, you're locked in a cage, and there's no tomorrow? There is no hope of anything better. It's one day after the next, after the next, after the next.
It is really hard to say and put on some words, but I think we were hopeless, and at the same time we had some hope because we have rights. We knew and know we have rights, and we fight. We had lots of protests, and they tried to destroy us, and they did, but after a while we gathering together and united and fight against this cruelty. And Australian people could hear us, and they support us. They are part of our resistance. They give us hope. They are like our families, and we survive.
You came then to Australia for medical treatment, and you wrote the third song that you're going to perform for us this evening. What's it called?
Game Over.
Please.
Thank you.
You can do whatever you want, but you can't kill me. You can do whatever you please, but you can't kill me. Oh, I've been tortured for years, I've been broken for years, I've been smashed at home. Oh, I'll fight for my rights, 'cause I know what is right. You can't kill me. I can do whatever I want, but you can't kill me. I can do whatever I please, but you can't kill me. I've been brought, I've been sold, I've been broken for years. You don't know half of my fear. Oh, I'll fight for my rights, 'cause I know what it's like. You can't kill me. You can't kill me. You can't kill me. You can't kill me. Oh, my spirit will soar. It will be me on the floor. You can't kill me. But you can't kill me. You can't kill me. You can't kill me. You can't kill me. Oh, my spirit will soar. Me on the floor. Can't kill me. You can't kill me. You can't kill me. You can't kill me. where it will soar. It would be me on the floor.
You started with cruel policy. It became the big exhale. I need to be free. I need to breathe fresh air. And now you're saying you can't kill me. You were in Mantra at this point?
That time they forcibly actually removed me from Mantra because I was a voice and they actually scared of my voice. They removed me from Mantra. They took my art materials. I couldn't paint or drawing for 8 months. And I decided to game over song. It's been, they can do whatever they want, but they cannot kill me. They can't.
There's still people locked up. They transferred from Mantra. They took you to MIDA when you spoke out, but there's people in MIDA and in Park Hotel now, in Swanston Street in Carlton, right smack bam in the middle of Melbourne. 35 people there who've been locked up for 8 years and are in severe pain. What do you say to Australia about those people who are still locked up and the others offshore?
I think enough is enough. Let these people be free after 8 years of torture. They are suffering from pain. They are sick mentally and physically. We have hundreds of innocent men, women, children in detention. They just release them to the community. They are like me.
And me.
Everyone is the same. They can contribute to this land. They can do lots of positive things for this land. It's wasting skills, lives.
Wasting lives. You finally got out on your birthday. Try to explain to us, after 8 years, what it meant when the gate was open and you walked out and you knew finally, after all this time, all these protest songs, all the pain, all the suffering, to be free.
That was really beautiful day. I released a song, The Smiling Boy. I didn't know I'm gonna be free. And it's like a gift for me. And I would like everyone would be free like me. Everyone has the right to be free.
A good friend of yours and of mine and of Moz's, named by the name of Angus MacDonald, of course, won the People's Choice Archibald Prize last year with incredible painting of your great friend, Behruz Bashani, is doing a film on you and Moz to bring your story to the attention of Australia and the world, but particularly Australians, to bring you to the consciousness of Australian people in an effort to break down what you called rightly this cruel policy, and it is cruelty. The film is called Freedom is Beautiful. Why is it important for you to show Australia what you've been through?
It's so important for me and of course for Moz to share part of our stories. What happened to us? It's something very similar to others as well. And it's not just about us, it's about other refugees who are still in detention centers. And this is a great message. I think they should watch and learn.
Well, you too, and we'll shortly hear from Moz, you two are symbols of the policy. You're the symbols of the human spirit, of resilience, of survival, of so many things that are wonderful, but also of a policy that's hurt so many thousands of people. Let's take a moment now to have a sneak peek at the coming film, Freedom is Beautiful.
یه داریشم بچو مال بچه میاد خواستم اولش شروع بکنم بچو تو
The tears just, oh no, it's fine. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, we are human. That is natural.
My name is Farhad Bandesh. I'm a Kurdish refugee. 7.5 years of my life, I lost it for no reason. Fortunately, with lots of support from Australian people, I got my freedom on my birthday.
What was the name of it?
My name is Mostafa Azimitabar. I am 34 years old. I am a Kurdish refugee. I was imprisoned more than 2,700 days by the Australian government. But my message to you, wonderful people, is love. And I believe that love is the answer. This is the way that we can kill the monsters.
Very bad situation. How are you, buddy?
Good. I'm really happy to see you. You're still strong. I like it.
I'm trying, bro. I'm still trying.
Yeah.
But it's hard. Very hard time. Too hard, bro. It's like I don't know what is my crime.
You didn't do anything wrong. You're just looking for safety and your freedom. You are a good man.
That is problem because I'm good man. Everyone bully me. I will not give up.
That's what we need from you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you so much, bro, speaking. Appreciate all of your time. You are too kind, all of you. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Be strong.
Appreciate, bro.
I love you, bro. I need you have the biggest smile, always. Yes, that's the face. That's the resistance. That's the way you fight for your freedom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You too, brother. Take care.
Have a good night. See ya.
Love you. Thank you for your time, all of you.
Love you. See ya.
Please welcome Mostafa Azimitabar as well. Moz, you too suffered through almost 8 years. Great friends with Farhad. Many people in Australia know both of you and have seen your face. You've been out protesting since you got out as well. Tell us, please, about how you survived, Because I know that, you told me many times I became friends with my pain. How did you get through?
I would like to pay my respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, elders past, present, and emerging. My name is Mostafa Azimitabar. Everyone calls me Moz. I am very happy that people call me Moz, not a number. For 8 years, I was a number. They called me KNS 88. And I am very happy about it, that people call my name, not a number. I suffered 8 years in detention. I was locked up for 2,737 days by the Australian government for no crime. But my message to you wonderful people is love. I am not angry with people in this society. I never believed that people in this society are voting to the politicians who are locking up innocent people. I never believed that people vote to the government who are keeping 2 innocent children in prison. I believe that these wonderful people are not racist. I think that people in Australia haven't heard about many stories that we have been through. I think when enough people hear about the stories of Manus and Nauru, then a wave of change will happen. And I survived because of wonderful people who helped me to survive. I suffer from asthma and PTSD, but when I talk with people in this society, I never felt any pain. Actually, I learned how to be friend with my pain. I learned to be kind to myself, and this is a gift that I think this is a gift that I got from the universe.
You're now, after so long, like Farhad, on the outside, but you attend the protests in front of Park Hotel and you see your friends who you spent so long next to still on the other side of the glass or the wire. What's it doing to them?
In the Park prison, I was locked up with other refugees. The guards started tinting all the glasses so that we became invisible. When people walk through the street in Swanston Street in Melbourne, they just see a building that is a 4-star hotel, but inside this building is a torture center. It's not a hotel, because hotel is a place for comfort. But this place is a torture center, and these innocent people are suffered every day by the Australian government. They are locked up in this building. Most of them want to go to America, and America it's a deal between America and Australia, and America want to take them, but there is a problem, and the problem is that the Australian government hold these people as hostage for their policy, and this policy has two folds. First of all, first reason is to drive fear into the nation that these refugees are bad people, dangerous criminals, terrorists. But these words, these kind of policy are bullshit. These government driving fear to the nation so that people believe that refugees are less than human. And the other reason is to get vote and win the election.
People can see, and even this evening, that you are incredibly articulate, intelligent, creative people who suffered for so very long. To see you on the outside with the opportunity to sing tonight is extraordinary, having spoken to both of you over 18 months, every day, and to see the pain that you went through. It needs to end, and for everyone who's watching this online, whether live or afterwards, we need their help. We need you to take action. We need you to join the Game Over campaign. We need you to write to your MP and say that Farhad and Moz represent thousands of people, hundreds who are still locked up offshore and onshore after 8 years, and thousands with no certainty in their lives. We need to act so that every Farhad and every Moz who we've hurt so badly can be free and can take whatever stage it is that they wish to take in their life. You, Farhad, are now a winemaker, and you come out later this year with some new versions of your own Bandesh wines. Tell us about that briefly.
Wine in our culture is part of our culture. We share wine with love. And I think wine brings many happiness. And, you know, in Kurdistan, even you cannot drink wine. And I believe that we are the owner who made wine for the first. And it's really sad, actually. We cannot make wine. And I decided I have this ability to make wine. And I started making my wine. And I would love to share my wine with Australian people. I called one of my wine Game Over. And the other one is Time to Fly.
Like a bird, free.
Yes, which means freedom.
Wine is a symbol of you two being free. And I can't wait until you bring those wines out. You know, there'll be some in the Foster household straight away to share with both of you. You're now going to finish the evening by singing a very special song, the two of you together. A very rare gift for us all. What is the song, Moz? And please tell us the significance of this song. It's the soundtrack to freedom is beautiful, but what is the song about?
This song, the name of this song is May, means wine. I practiced this song with Farhad, I think since 2016. We played this song a lot when we were in detention. And it means a lot to both of us. When I listen to this song, or when we practice this song together, I personally feel that I felt that I was not in detention. I smiled a lot, and I remember lots of good stories. Even inside detention, I felt tranquility that, and actually it's because of, I think music was very important for me to continue and not to give up. And this song was a part of our resistance.
More and more Australians every day are joining with me to say, firstly, thank you for sharing your stories with us tonight. Secondly, sorry. Sorry for what we put you through and what our country did to you. I want to thank all the band members who came tonight, Jim Magini, guys from Celebrate Rifles and others. and ask you to please close this evening with your very special song.
Thank you so much.
توی دبه زبروی خوب طیبتی روژانی پیری باش خوب گیره بگوشه گیری هندنا هینه دنیا خم بخوی امانتی ها توی دبه زبروی خوب طیبتی روژانی پیری باش خوب گیره بگوشه ببی خمی بجی ببی خمی بمرا گوشه تاریکی میخانه بگیرم ببی خمی بجی ببی خمی بمرا گوشه تاریکی میخانه بگیرم ببی خمی بجی ببی خمی بمرا گوشه تاریکی میخانه بگیرم ببی خمی بجی ببی خمی بمرا گوشه تاریکی میخانه بگیرم امانتی ها توی دبه زبروی خوب طیبتی روژانی پیری باش خوب گیره بگوشه گیری هندنا هینه دنیا خم بخوی امانتی ها توی دبه زبروی خوب طیبتی روژانی پیری باش خوب گیره بگوشه ببی خمی بجی ببی خمی بمرا گوشه تاریکی میخانه بگیرم ببی خمی بجی ببی خمی بمرا گوشه تاریکی میخانه بگیرم
Thank you, everyone. Please give it up for Farhad and Mostafa. Thank you so much. I'm sure you're all cheering at home as well, wherever you're tuning in. That was an amazing, beautiful, moving performance and a series of fantastic performances. So please join me, wherever you are tuning in thanking everyone who shared their stories and their talents tonight. Farhad Bandesh, Mostafa Azimitabar, Craig Foster, and the fabulous band, Tim Mogany, Kent Steedman, Paul Lockhead, Tim Kevin, Conrad Hamill. Thank you all. Thank you also to everyone who shared your story and your talent tonight. Thank you, Roaa and Mithat, Graham and Francis, everyone who shared their stories in the films that we watched tonight as well. Thank you for being a part of this event and helping us band together in support of people seeking asylum here in Australia. It has been an honour to be with you tonight, and I hope you've all enjoyed tonight as well. Thank you.
We have the chance to say thank you to our wonderful Jess Scully, and on behalf of the City of Sydney. At 2 o'clock today, we didn't know if we would go ahead. And the fact that we did was because of the courage of the City of Sydney, in a way. Not in a way, it was. And for everyone to get behind it. There's a flowers to thank on behalf of everyone, and Mithat and Roaa joining us, and with their families. And Graham, as you said, thank you to all the musicians, everyone who came tonight. It's been a terrific night. It couldn't have been better, I think, and hopefully many more people had the opportunity to tune in. We have got a whole set of actions, so look out in your email box tomorrow. There's lots we can all do, and we can all do together. Thank you, everybody. To Jess.
Thank you. Thank you, Francis. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and good night.